How can you use fractions to measure more precisely? Think about this question during the lesson.
As we go, we're also trying to think about what it means when it says customary units of length. SWABOT.
SWABOT.
Students will.
Students will.
Be able to?
Be able to.
Measure.
Measure.
Using customary units of length.
Using customary units of length.
When is it important to measure an object as precisely as possible?
Corinne, when would it be important to do that? To measure an object as precisely as possible?
So that you know exactly how much.
Okay. So give me an example. When would you need to do this? Corinne?
When you're building a house.
Thank you. That's the first one that pops in my mind. When you're building a house, you need to measure pretty precisely, pretty exactly. What else, Dylan?
In math.
In math.
It is necessary to measure an object as precisely as possible when you are building things that need to fit together. What type of objects would you measure using inches?
What type of objects, Ethan, would you measure using inches? Small, medium, or large? Medium? Is an inch a medium-sized unit of measure? I think they're probably getting at measure smaller things using inches, like what we see here, like a CD case or a DVD case, perhaps.
You would measure objects such as the width of a piece of paper or the length of a pencil in inches. What other customary units of length do you know?
Customary, besides inches, I already gave you one. What was it, Austin? You remember?
Area.
No. I want a unit of measurement, like an inch or a foot. What else? Mile is customary. Braxton? Not centimeters, so that's going to be get into the metric side of things. We'll talk about those tomorrow more. What else, Devin? Yard. There we go. Inches, feet, yard, miles. Anything else you can think of that's customary? Eli? That's metric. Yes?
Well, I was going to say kilometers.
Pretty much,
That's
kind of name most of the major ones.
Feet, yards, and miles are other customary units of length. Since an inch is divided into equal parts, you can use fractions to measure lengths. What is the length of the DVD case to the nearest 1 inch, 1/2 inch, 1/4 inch, and 1/8 inch?
Okay, so this is this gives you a big picture of what you're seeing over here, just part of it. I don't know exactly what you remember from 4th grade, but I know what I taught in 2nd grade. And in 2nd grade, we measured to the nearest inch.
I don't remember.
Hopefully you've moved on from there and you've learned how to measure to the nearest
Foot.
1/2, 1/4, and 1/8 inch. So when you look at your ruler and you look at all those little marks in between the 0 and the 1 and the 1 and the 2, every single mark, does anyone know what we're measuring by if you were to measure to every single little mark right here? Well, let's count how many parts it's divided into. There's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 equal parts, and so every little mark is a measurement of what? Butch? No, this is inches there, Butch. So, we're talking either 1/2 inches, 1/4 inches, or 1/8 inches. And knowing what we know about fractions, Butch, what can you tell me here?
8 inches.
Not 8, 1/8. Each little mark here is 1/8. Here's an 8, 2/8, 3/8, 4/8, 5, 6, 7/8, and finally 8/8 makes 1 whole inch. But we're not just talking about eighths here. 2/8 though would be how much? Which one of these would be 2/8? 1/2 or 1/4? Ethan?
1/2.
Not 1/2. 2/8 would be 1/4. Here's 2/8, which equals 1/4. So you have to know how to convert in your head back and forth between halves and fourths and 8ths. That's going to be your challenge today.
Before measuring precisely, you can estimate the length of this DVD case. About how long is it?
Okay, so I'm looking at it, and it goes 7, and it kind of goes up to that first mark past the 7. What would you say there? 1/4? What would you say, Isabella? 1/8? Let's see who's right.
Your estimate for the length of the DVD case should be about 7
So
inches.
they're saying it's closest to 7.
So, the length of the DVD case to the nearest 1 inch is 7 inches.
Okay.
You can use a ruler to find the length of the DVD case to the nearest 1 inch, 1/2 inch, 1/4 inch, and 1/8 inch. Will you always line up the end of the ruler with the end of the object?
Yes or no? How many of you think yes? How many of you think no? A lot more of you raised your hand on no, and I'm wondering why. Why wouldn't you line up the end of your ruler with the end of the object? That is measuring 101. Always line up the end of your ruler with one end of your object. Thank you.
You can measure 101 inches.
And there's our marks again, showing on the screen. 1/8 marks, 1/4 marks, and 1/2 marks. How many 1/2 inch marks will there be, Tyler, between the 0 and the 1? How many 1/2 inch marks?
8.
1/2 inch marks?
Oh,
Just 1. How many 1/4 inch marks will there be? Let's count them. Here's 1. There's a 1/4 inch. There's 2 1/4 inches. 3, 4. And I guess we could call this one as a 1/2 inch mark too. There's a 1/2 inch. There's a 1/2 inch. 2 1/2 inch marks. Look at the number on the bottom. 2 1/2 inch marks. 4 1/4 inch marks. And how many 1/8 inch marks? 8. That number on the bottom is your clue.
No. You need to line up the end of the object with the 0 on the ruler. On some rulers, the 0 is not at the end.
Good point. That's a fair point.
What fraction would you use if you put a mark halfway between 0 and 1/8?
Halfway between 0 and 1/8. Anybody know what that would be? That's a tough one. I'm going to ask you, Claire, what? Don't go to meters. We're not talking about meters at all today. Just inches right now. Eli?
1/16.
The fraction 1/16 represents the mark that is halfway between 0 and 1/8.
Woo-wee. All right. That didn't even show. So, yeah, you can go even smaller than an 1/8. You can go to 16ths.
What is the length of the DVD case to the nearest 1/2 inch?
Okay, so if we were going to the nearest inch before. Now we're going to the nearest 1/2 inch. So let's look between 7 and 8. Kirsten, can you tell me? The nearest 1/2 inch. Seven, 7.5, or 8? 7.5.
The length of the DVD case to the nearest 1/2 inch is 7 1/2 inches.
Now, why did I say it could be 7? Is 7.5 inch?
Yeah.
Could be, yeah. 7 could be a 1/2 inch mark. If we're just looking at 1/2 inches, we would start at 0, then 1/2, then 1, then 1.5, then 2, then 2.5, and we just keep going by halves. So it could have been 7, 7.5, or 8.
What is the length of the DVD case to the nearest 1/4 inch?
Nearest 1/4. That one's tricky. What do you think? Grace? Sarah? Grace?
Oh my god.
Grace?
Grace.
7 1/4. I think that's right. Although since it's halfway between, I think it could be 7 1/4 or 7 1/2, but I think they're going to say 7 1/4.
The length of the DVD case to the nearest 1/4 inch is 7 1/4 inches. What is the length of the DVD case to the nearest 1/8 inch?
Ooh. The nearest 1/8. So count with me here. Here's 7, 7 1/8, 7 2/8, 7 3/8. Do you see how I got there? I just counted the eighths till I got to the one it was closest to.
The length of the DVD case to the nearest 1/8 inch is 7 3/8 inches. Since the length of the DVD case ends at 7 3/8 inches, this is its length to the nearest 1/8 inch. What type of number is used to describe the length of the DVD case?
What type of number is that over there?
That's a
Hey?
7
What do we call that kind of number?
That's I don't know.
We learned this when we talked
That's
about
a blank
fractions. It's got
That's
two
a
words.
blank
A
blank.
blank blank. What kind of fraction is it? I'll give you a hint. What kind of fraction is that?
Blank is a fraction.
I don't tell her, Kirsten. What kind is it?
A blank is a fraction.
Not proper. It's not improper either. It's all jumbled up, so we call it a mix. It's got a whole number and a fraction.
A mixed number is used to describe the length of the DVD case. Now you know how to use customary units of measure to find the length of an object to the nearest 1 inch, 1/2 inch, 1/4 inch, and 1/8 inch.
Okay.